First off, I can't tell you how exciting it is to actually just be making a video for once in my life. But I'm making this video because I think it is time for me and you to just talk about some things. Of course, you'll probably notice I changed the angle up a bit slightly here. Just trying to make a little bit more of a relaxed video today, because I always feel like with videos when I'm making them, I set up all these things, I get all these things set up, and that's the process that kind of takes me out of it. And I get really zoned out by the fact that I've set up all these things, and then when it comes down to making the video, it just kind of, I guess it really takes me out of the process, because I'm putting in so much effort trying to just do one small little thing. And that's what it feels like to me. It feels like when I'm making videos, it's a very small thing, but I'm putting so much into it because I'm a perfectionist. So when it comes to things like this, I try to go steps above what would, I guess, be kind of typical. I mean, there is no real typical way to look at making videos, but that's kind of how it is with me. So if you can tell, I'm just trying to make myself a little bit comfortable, and I feel like it's a lot easier to just kind of get through this video here today, because I'm going to be talking about some interesting topics. And obviously that was going to be my next topic of conversation, about kind of me being a perfectionist towards things. And I've always known that I'm a perfectionist when it comes to like things like making videos or pretty much anything in my life. Like, here's another example: cooking. I don't enjoy it. I always get people saying to me, if you like cooking, you should go and do it as a job. But I'm like, I actually don't enjoy doing it. But it's one of those where I'm such a perfectionist that I look at it and I'm like, I want this to be perfect. And in my life, it's just kind of like that with many things. It doesn't matter what it is. If I'm doing something and I have a reason for doing it, I feel like I have to perfect it. And I guess a little bit of a problem with that is I always find that it kind of drains me when it comes to things like this, because I'm always putting so much effort into these things. And it's also always kind of like a constant, endless loop towards perfection. So let's say you have something that you can perfect, and then you finally get to perfection, and there is not really much more you can do to keep perfecting that thing. You're just kind of at the top, and it stays there. That's where I get bored very easily with things, because I always find that it's not stimulating my brain to constantly be a perfectionist anymore. And then I just kind of, I guess I feel like I kind of just dip out of those things. And it's why I guess I've kind of struggled with kind of figuring myself out in life for I don't know how long at this point. We'll get a little bit more into that kind of topic later, but with kind of understanding the perfectionism that I have, I funnily found out when I did a little test online that I am an INFJ. It's a personality type. If you don't know much about it, it's one of the Myers-Briggs personality types. I think there's like a total of 16 personality types. And the thing with INFJs is we're not only very tactical in the way that we look at things, but we are quite literally perfectionists. So the way that we kind of look at the world is we try to do the best we can, but at the same time, when it comes to the standards that we want for other people, it's the same deal. So when it comes to what we want of other people, we're also kind of perfectionists in that sense as well. And when we don't get those things, I guess we can kind of feel very disappointed with it. And sometimes, often with INFJs, what I find in my perspective, and I know that I've seen, at least in some other people's perspectives from doing a little bit of research, if we don't get that thing from a person, like say for example, we tell a person we want them to do this because we know this is going to work for them, but then they don't do it, we get kind of desensitized to them not doing it. So we kind of start to give up trying to help that person with that thing. But obviously things like this, where we feel like we're trying the hardest for people and then it's not getting through to them, it makes us feel terrible, and it really impacts the way that our mental health kind of functions. And that's kind of partly why I wanted to make this video today, was just mention a little bit about, I guess, myself and the type of person I am. It was really interesting finding, I guess, a little bit more about this, because I remember the first time I did that little test, I took like a brief look at it. I looked through all the things and I was like, that is literally me. But I never really thought about it on a deeper level until recently, where I was like searching up a few videos about INFJs, and I found a few where obviously we had INFJs like talking about their experiences, and I found that actually explains the whole situation a lot better than I probably ever would have even thought of explaining it to myself and for myself. I'm not going to talk too much anymore about that topic. I think you kind of get the gist of like what INFJs are like and how we are like just in daily life. And also one of the other kind of things with INFJs is we do get burnt out quite easily. And I think I found often at times I will get to this point where like I do work for a certain amount of time and I feel great doing it. But then at some point I'll start to get really demotivated. And I think this also comes into another thing I think a lot of people don't know, because I've never really talked about this on my channel. I think previously I only really talked about like having a panic attack and kind of anxiety. My kind of story. So in the middle of sort of the anxiety stuff, just right after I started to feel great again, I got my first job, started working. Fantastic. We love that, right? It was going great for me. And then over the course of, I guess, that first job, I feel like I started to get so stressed that I developed IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and it kind of flipped my life upside down, because at one point I literally spent so much time off work due to the pain that I would get from it. And then after a while, I ended up leaving that job and just kind of transitioning into another job. Obviously this other job was working full time. And over the period of that job, I still found myself struggling with my IBS. But I guess over that time, I also started to, like, my anxiety and everything and the way that I felt started to evolve and kind of turned more into depression. And because I want to hold myself to a certain standard and the way that I present myself here on YouTube, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the whole thing, but the way that I found the depression to kind of come on as an INFJ is through the way that I feel about other people and how other people treat me. So this is one of the things about INFJs. We can kind of see through people. So imagine a person's wearing a mask, right? You can't see the face. With us, it's like we can see right through that mask. So for example, narcissistic people, people who lie to you, I can literally see right through them. And on some part of it, you might think, oh yeah, that's great, you can see through a person, so you immediately know who they are. And it's like, okay, to some degree it is. But then to the degree of where I kind of try to doubt myself and I try to tell myself, am I wrong about this person, but then I'm not wrong about the person? It becomes one of those where it just kind of drags you down, because generally it, like, INFJ is what we want. It's almost like a circle of things. We want the best for people, and we want people to be their best. So when they aren't their best, it takes us down as people. And I've kind of found that to be some of the fuel to the fire that causes me to feel depressed. There are, of course, many other factors that like kind of go into it, like generally how I felt towards work, because that is one of the other things with INFJs. We have this very set way of how we feel towards workplaces and how they treat us. We're big on equality. So what that means for an INFJ is, let's say I was a manager, right? If I was a manager in a workplace, and I've always thought about this, like, outside of even knowing that I was an INFJ, but then when I saw it, I was like, it makes sense, and it's always good to be kind of typed, because it tells you the way that you are is a normal thing. But the way that I felt always towards workplaces is, like, if I was a manager, I wouldn't ever want to feel like I'm above the employees that are employed under me, right? So for me, that means making sure that every employee is treated equally, everyone's treated fairly, and not ever trying to feel like I'm above them. And in another aspect, it kind of goes the same the opposite way around. So when we have managers that kind of act like they're above us, or it feels like they're constantly telling us things that go against what we believe, it brings us down. And I often found with the workplaces that I was in, that was kind of how it was. I was always being told things like, once I felt like I was at that level of perfection, and once I felt like I was kind of where I needed to be with those jobs, it felt like I was always like hearing about these hurdles or getting hurdles thrown at me. And for me, that just kind of dragged me down. So yeah, there are like many factors to how we feel as INFJs and how I generally feel with everything that's gone on in my life and how kind of depressed I am. And what's really odd is I never thought I'd get to the stage that I'm at now. And the stage that I'm kind of at now is where, say you have to deal with a phone call, or you just have to deal with phone calls in general, I don't like doing them. And it's just something within me that's just so against it. And the way that I generally react to like social situations, the way that I react to sounds around me, has become so predominant. So I found that when I have like overwhelming social anxiety in social situations now, which I never would have even thought to say to you, I never would have thought that I had social anxiety, because I've heard of people who like had it, but I never really understood how they felt until I had it. And it does get to the point where like you'll hear a person, I don't know, clicking a pen, or people just making too much noise, and your brain just overloads, and then you want to get out of that situation. And I don't know if that's related to the anxiety or to being an INFJ or to kind of both in general. I feel like it is both in general, because I do hear kind of a thing about INFJs and where we shut off in certain situations because we are introverts at nature. But it's kind of one of those qualities that has developed in me that I don't really understand, and I'm still trying to figure out myself. And obviously because I've been going through so much, it's kind of made me feel demotivated towards many things. So I've spent literally months at a time just doing absolutely nothing, not even wanting to sit at my computer, just not feeling like I can do anything. And I feel like recently it has gotten a lot worse, because I used to be, I guess, a very clean person with general things. Now I'm noticing that when it comes to cleaning things, I kind of do it less and less because I don't feel the motivation most days to even do it. And I'm not sure whether that's to do with the burnout that comes from INFJs or to do with the kind of depression. I feel like it's somewhat a mix of both. Like, almost like the depression is further feeding into the feeling of burnout and is creating this kind of vicious cycle. And you'll find that when it comes to making videos, this has been one of the reasons I haven't made videos in such a long time, because not only am I a perfectionist and I like to have things in certain ways when I'm doing videos, as you can probably tell, I got all my lights and everything on right now, but I also just don't have the motivation to feel like doing anything most days. And I thought I'd just get on here today and try and kind of explain where I've been, what's been going on, and how my life has been, because I've thought about doing this video so many times and I've written down so many different ideas that I've had for these kind of videos. I even have quite a few ideas written down for different kind of videos on this subject, but I never really got round to them because I was always such a perfectionist with them. And I'd always try and write these ideas down and I'd be like, but how am I going to make this progress forward, and what am I going to do with this? Even today, for this video, I had a little thing that I wrote down, like, I don't know, like about an hour or two ago. It was like a little start into the video. I'm glad I did, because I use that as a little bit of a way to get into this one. But I haven't really fully followed that right now. And that's a good thing. It's good to not be trying to follow this perfectionist idea that I have of videos, because sometimes I feel like it takes away the authenticity of the video as well. But that is one of my biggest problems when it comes to making videos, and I am very glad that I just sat down, went with it, and didn't go ahead with writing out this whole thing first, because if I did this, I'd be trying to be a perfectionist with it, and if I messed even a single line up, then I would roll it back constantly, like I always do with these things. When I'm doing them, I'm constantly trying to perfect the lines and things that I'm trying to say, but then because I'm doing that, I'm just constantly rolling back on the same thing. Whereas I could just sit down, talk, and just make it come from the mind, you know? But I think for now, that's enough of what I want to say on this subject. And if I feel like I ever want to say more on this subject in the future, I may just make some more videos regarding it, and maybe answer some questions if anybody kind of has questions about my situation at all. And yeah, I hope you understand everything that I was kind of trying to say during this video, and I hope whatever you've got going on in your life, I hope you're having a good life, and I hope you all are having a good day today. If not, if it's the start of the day for you, if it's the morning, I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you, hopefully, in the next video. If I have the motivation for it. I'm out. Peace.